And we're back for episode 13 of Pursuing the Perfect Pint. And we're got a lot of interesting things on the agenda today, I think, Brent.
Yeah, lucky number one, lucky
Yeah.
13. So let's try not to go off the rails in the next few minutes. But yeah, as usual, we've got our range of market updates, fairly brief, but then we're going to hear from interesting part of the world that's growing, which is quite unique, and another part of the world that's really advancing in a rather difficult economic umbrella. So yeah, quite a range. We're covering different parts of the world and giving a kind of a broad viewpoint.
So, Brent, as you know, where I'm here in the UK has been 40 days of misery with continual rain. And I have to say, you look at all the fields around, you just sort of think, what is that possibly doing to any farmers' planting efforts? And what are you seeing on a more global basis?
Yeah, well, to that point, Western Europe, the as we said in the previous podcast, we're not that far away from where spring barley planting will commence, and if it were to stay, excessively wet, that would delay it. That's never ideal. The common advantage is getting a crop in early. It does help avoid summer stress from high heat and so on. So delays, it's a bit too early to call it, but I guess when you talk about this massive rain, that does start to raise a small flag that if it doesn't clear off, then it might start to cause some delays, which would be worth watching.
It makes sense. So, what else are you seeing, Brent, from a global update?
I guess if I think Danielle, some more current affair sort of things. I guess market wise, the barley market seems to be still well supported, mainly again by feed barley. So we haven't seen that change much. It is helping keep malting barley prices rather stable to up a little bit. This whole planting thing that we just talked about is an element to that because
Yeah.
you want to keep the farmer motivated for planting spring malting barley varieties. So that's kind of on the supply side. I guess that's the piece. The other, I say, major news, and we'll definitely talk about it a lot when we get to Lisbon. But we've got year end um, financial reporting completed from at least some of
Oh,
the
the major brewers,
major
yes.
brewers. The story is still pretty dour. We're confirmed that we will have a third year of declining volumes. If I tried to grab onto anything optimistic, Q4 was mildly better than the previous 3 quarters of last year I would say,
Yeah.
for each of the 3 major brewers. It were still negative numbers, so that's hard to be too optimistic because it's still in the red in terms of volume, but less negative than it was
Yeah.
before.
Is
We're
the rate of decline stabilizing, I
Yeah.
guess?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're putting more Band-Aids on the patient, and we seem to have the bleeding
Yeah.
slowing
Yeah.
down, but not entirely over. So not that we can get terribly excited about that, but there's a mild bit of news that so I guess that's a big topic as we go forward, and when we get together, I think it will have some longer term implications on what people do in the industry in terms of investment and all
Yeah.
these things. So lots of
I
lots
mean
of related to that.
I think we're seeing even, like Heineken still looking to slash quite a lot of jobs globally, so there's still a lot of belt tightening and, trying to make more out of what's coming in, we're
Yep.
gonna see going forward.
Yep. It's just in terms of health, the declining volumes for the 3 straight years, I guess even from an investment perspective, people would like to see businesses that can show some semblance of
Yeah.
growth. So we gotta get back to volume growth. I think that's something everyone could align to. How we get there is quite difficult, but we
Yeah.
need to at least get moving in that direction.
And I think, Brent, if we look at a slight positive in all of this, when we've just had the advantage of looking at the Excellence Award submissions that have come in, and it's just been fantastic. I mean, I think we were just chatting earlier. I think we've had submissions from every continent, I think, sadly, except Africa, so we'll have to fix that next time. But what a range of really interesting submissions we've received.
Yeah, from, if I say, 4 corners of the
Yeah.
earth, this is quite good. I think, with your help, Danielle, the move to a project-based approach, so we've really kind of narrowed the scope down so people could talk about specific projects that they're quite proud of. We keep repeating it. Like, we feel strongly that, you know, these efforts need to be recognized. I think that's a job that RMI can do, and we're happy to do it. And it's really encouraging that we see so much interest in these events. So I think people are agreeing with us that these good efforts and what people are proud of are things to talk about, and we're happy to help that process. So and we got Bueller as our sponsor in Lisbon. It's been a long time sponsor, so they also support it. So I think we're moving into the right place, project based, and projects from around the world does tell us that the supply chain is moving things forward despite the difficult times that we
Yeah.
just talked about. I think that's positive in itself. We're resilient. We keep saying that, and that's the theme for Lisbon. That resiliency keeps showing through. So I think that's quite positive.
And I think it's really interesting because there's such a range of projects, from helping a brewery that has employs adults with learning disabilities to helping farmers who rent their land in Argentina improve their sustainability practices. I mean, you couldn't get two more different projects and equally, fascinating
Yeah.
and brilliant for the supply chain.
We were either good or lucky, and maybe a bit of both. When we picked the 5 categories, I think they're broad enough, like collaboration and
Yeah.
innovation and all these things. Like, they apply in so many different ways. They would actually apply to different elements of the supply chain. So whether it's barley focused or reducing water use or energy in the malting process or in the brewing and distilling process, there's elements across the supply chain. So I think that's kind of helped us a little bit too. I think it applies more broadly so then people can see where their work they're doing fits in one of those 5 categories, and we'll go through all these uh, projects and applications and come up with 5 winners for Lisbon.
Yeah, sounds great. I'm looking really forward to it. And then up next, back to one of our sponsors for the conference, Brent Vickers, who let's hear what he has to say.
Okay, so next up, very pleased to have Vikas Jan from PMV Group joining us. So Vikas, first of all, thanks for taking some time out and joining us for the podcast.
Oh, thank you, Brent. Thank you very much.
Very good. Well, um, one of the first things, very pleased you joined us in Lisbon as a sponsor. So, first of all, a big thank you to you for that. And I guess we were talking in prep for this. It's the 13th RMI conference in Lisbon. It'll be my 10th. I went to the first one in 2007 in Budapest, Hungary. And you were saying your first one was in Prague. So I guess you went to the RMI event not knowing what it was, and now you've gone almost every year since.
Yes, I think that the first one I did attend was 2011. And after that, I've been to all of them, and except the one in Antwerp in 2022 during the pandemic. And I was lucky enough to also have presented in 2017 in Vienna. So it's been a great experience. And I would say it's a pilgrimage for people in the barley, malt, beer supply chain to come to this pilgrimage every 2 years and experience for themselves and to know what's it all about.
Yeah, it's all about bringing people together, and you have to come from some distance, as others do, so that kind of affirms the value in it when people are willing to travel and be part of it. And you in the PMV group have been good supporters since you found RMI. You've been a very good partner with it, and we're very happy that you're joining us as a sponsor. So thanks for that. But
No, thank you
but
very
even
much.
further to that, you're going to be a speaker in Lisbon, which is a follow up, as you said, to 2017,
Yeah.
and you bring a very unique perspective to the Indian market. So maybe you could explain a little bit to your perspective and the sort of topics that you're going to cover when you get in front of the stage, in front of the people in
Oh,
Lisbon.
okay. So let me just put it back in perspective. In 2017, when I spoke at Vienna, that time the Indian market, the malt market or the beer market was going through a new regulatory change that we were moving from excise to GST, which was a new taxation regime. And there was a lot of speculation not as to how will it pan out for the liquor industry, because the liquor industry is not taxed at the federal level. It's all done at the state levels. So I think there was a big shift and change in that time. And ever since 2017, the business model quite changed in India, the way malt supply chain evolved for the beer and the alcobev industry. So now when I come in again in 2025 or 2026, what we are seeing is that the market in India now is on a growth phase, which we all have been looking forward to. And the expectations which move around just now are expected volumes of around 6 to 7% CAGR. And I think with all optimism and realism to a certain extent in that,
Yep.
we feel that that's probably the market which is growing apart from the West, where we see the degrowth happening on the beer side. But apart from the beer market, the Indian market has also been quite resilient with the food side of the business, which we have been as well using malt and malt products into supply into the food chain since ever inception in the 1970 for last 55 years. So I think all of that, if I was going to be talking about, I'll be talking about how this market is going to look forward until 2035. And out of which I think a lot of focus is going to be on sustainability as well, because I think that's where a lot of effort is required going forward on the barley supply chain to be built on a sustainable basis in India.
Yeah, that's right. And of course, I think the other element too is the whiskey market, and there's some changes going on there, maybe with some different taxation rules and so on. So you bring a beer and a whiskey and a food story, as you mentioned, which I think is amazing. And your taxation, you've taught me this in the past, because the taxation is down at a state level within India. So
Yeah.
state to state is different, which is a level of complexity that you understand,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you'd have to give me a map and draw it again because it's quite complicated. So you've got these things to
Yeah.
deal with as well. So that's another element that it's quite good. It's, as you said, it's one of the few growing markets at the time, because generally globally we would say it's not the greatest time within beer and whiskey. And you're sitting in a part of the world that's one of the, you maybe on one hand you could count the number of places that are actually experiencing the positive growth like you outlined. So I think the audience is really looking forward to you. They're familiar with you, of course. I think everyone knows Vicus and PMV, and I think they're going to be very pleased that you're back on stage and giving everyone a little bit of optimism. I'm optimistic by nature, but
I know
even
that.
even even today, it's quite difficult in most parts of the world. But I really look forward to having you be on stage and helping boost the mood a little bit for people. So thanks for being a sponsor, of course, and thanks for getting up on stage and sharing some positive news with everybody. So we'll see you in Lisbon.
Sure. Looking forward very much. Cheers to all.
Yep. Cheers, all.
Yep. Bye bye. See you. Ciao.
Any key takeaways for you, Brent?
Well, a couple of things. Really happy that we've got Vicus and the PMV team on board. They come with this really unique perspective, which we talked about. India. There's a handful of regions and countries in the world that are actually growing, and India is one of them.
Yeah.
So it was really important that we bring some of that positivity, and Vicus will do that. You've got big whiskey potential growth there as well.
Oh,
So
that's true.
we've got these stories, and even the food element is rather sizable in India. So they come with a pretty unique perspective, and I think some of the things that Vicus touched upon will be really, really insightful for the audience in Lisbon. So really pleased to have him on board. He's been a long time supporter of the RMI events, and we're going to get him back on stage this time. So yeah, really excited about that.
And Brent, moving from India back to South America to Argentina, where we get to hear from ALEA, from Eugenia and Emmanuel, and I think it was such an interesting conversation that you had.
Okay, now for the topic of this week, we're taking a trip back to Argentina. Some of you may remember not so long ago we went to Patagonia, and we heard from Bruno some help with our ALEA friends who we're going to talk with today. But so we are focused on the Americas. We've done Argentina. We're coming back to Argentina. We've mixed in some U.S. craft along the way. But first of all, Emmanuel and Eugenia, thanks very much for taking some time. Maybe we can start with a little bit an introduction from each of you of what you do and what ALEA is. Maybe Eugenia, we'll start with you.
Okay, well, hello everybody. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be with you, Brent. We have plenty of chats all together, so it's good to have in contact with more people of the barley chain. My name is Eugenia Rull. I work with Emma in the FOB desk in ALEA, and also I'm in charge of the Sustainable Barley Program.
Yeah. Okay. Hello, Brent. Thank you for inviting us. It's always good to have a good chat with you to share with the people. It's also better. Well, my name is Emmanuel. I already have 7 years in the company, and I'm a trader with special focus on barley.
Yep. And I think we'll get into the more details of the barley program, including sustainability, Jeannie. But maybe to start with, we, as you said, Jeannie, we've had lots of discussions. I joke, I learn something about Argentina every time we have a conversation. We've talked about inflation. You might remember the time you told me that inflation was 25%, and I thought, wow, that's a lot of inflation for 1 year. And then you said, well, no, Brent, that was just the inflation for 1 month. And I was to a point I could hardly believe that. But I guess I bring that up as Argentina is going through an amazing transformation. You know, you've seen the peso stabilize, you've seen inflation come much more under control. So maybe we could just start on a macro level, a little bit of what are you seeing today in terms of things that give you hope that Argentina has kind of turned and is moving in a positive direction. So maybe Emmanuel, start with you. What's your thoughts on the macro side of things?
Okay, Brent. Yes. Well, we've been talking a lot about this. So yeah, definitely Argentina, I think is going on the right way. We are improving a lot. As you say, the inflation has lowered a lot. We still have about 30% inflation, which is a lot, but we came from a 200% a year scenario. So we are better. And also, the interest rates were 100% in the past, in 2023, now are about 30%. So the exchange rate is much more stabilized. The economy start feeling in a better shape in general, which is, of course, really good for the business. Also, a really good news for the farmers or for the industry. Is that since our new government start, we have seen lower export taxes for all the products, not only for barley, but also for soybean, corn, the rest of the products, which is something really good because this gives more good margins for the farmers. Also, we have to say, of course, the costs have risen in this period because the costs in US dollars are higher now than in the past. So, but the business have become more real some way. Everybody's looking for efficiency now, but it's much easier to predict or just to know what's going to happen in coming months. So it's, in general, it's much more a scenario. Still, we still have a lot of challenges ahead, of course. We still need to keep working. Today, in the Congress, we are discussing a big reform for taxes and also for the law, for the how can I say, okay, help me with the workers law.
Yes.
Yeah, the workers law.
Yes.
So yeah,
Regulations, let's say.
the regulation.
Yes.
Yeah, of course. So the government is advancing in this way, and if this happen, this is going to reflect lower cost for the enterprise and for the farmers as well. So which I think is going to be great for the business.
Yeah, as you said, Emmanuel, as far as you've come, just so people can really grasp it, kind of like what I said before, you still have interest rates of 30% and you still have inflation of 30%. I think if anyone around the world were to listen to this, I think they would have to check themselves to make sure they heard it properly. But your export tax is important. When you lower the tax on export, it does technically put more money in the hand of the farmer, which will help on crops like barley and so on. So it's going to make Argentina more competitive in the global world, we would say, and talk about often. Is there anything else on the macro level, Eugenia, from your side? Anything you want to add to what you see in terms of the big picture?
Yes, well, of course, I totally agree with Emma. I think that the frame that we have today in Argentina, sorry, is totally different. It's like we discussed in the last crop tour in Brazil. We were at that time changing the rhythm. You know, it's like dancing. One person here in Argentina says, "Well, okay, we are changing the rhythm. Today is totally different. Hopefully, we have been having clear rules. Actually, well, as Emma mentioned just some seconds ago, dollar rates more stabilized, macroeconomics is going well in general. Of course, we have some people that are suffering. We need to say that in terms of poverty. Well, okay, we have a lot of things to do, but in terms of our chain, agricultural, let's say, chain, things are getting better. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a very good sign. Well, so I guess if we turn a little more to what it would mean to the pursuit of a perfect pint, which is our podcast name, of course, you need barley. No barley, no beer. And I guess ALEA is very focused on barley in general, and of course, a big part of that is malting barley. But of course, your business is looking at both the trade of feed barley and the trade of malting barley, and we can start getting into that, and we'll I won't forget, Jeannie. We will get into sustainable barley. Maybe overall, maybe a little bit. How important is the overall barley market for ALEA? How much time and effort do you put into that relative to other crops?
Yeah, well, definitely for us, barley is the most important product. We originate we work directly with the farmers. So have two storage plants, and one in Necochea, Quequén, and the other one in Bahía Blanca. Um, Today we are originating about 1.5 million tons uh, of all the products, but 50% of that volume is barley. So it is an important amount. We are um, located in the main barley area, so this of course help us a lot. Um, well, we supply local industries such as Burmal or ABI, but we also do, as you mentioned, Brent, we export multi barley to other countries and also feed barley. Our export program is about 600,000 tons of all the product, which where barley is about 500,000 tons. So yeah, this year we have seen a strong demand for feed barley, especially from Saudi Arabia. Um, this was really good for the market because this gives the farmers a good price. We have a pretty decent harvest. A really good one in the southwest, so in Bahía Blanca, where it is, and regularly here in Necochea, but overall was a good crop. The feed barley price was very good for farmers, and it was above wheat, which is not normal. So I think this will help uh, uh, the farmers to maintain the intention area for next crop. Of course, and this is something that is happening globally, but the premiums for malting barley have been very low as everywhere else. And this is, in my opinion, this is kind of risky for next crop because we can see more barley going into the feed barley channel since we have strong demand, good prices, and of course the fertilizers are expensive now. As you know, we have talked about this many times, Brent, but here in Argentina, we have soybean as second crop after barley. If you harvest earlier, so if you harvest a feed barley that you can harvest with higher moisture, you can grow the soybean second crop earlier, which is going to mean higher yields, and this is all another motivation to harvest early. But
Yeah,
of
which is really good. And maybe just so someone that's not so familiar with it. So for a crop rotation standpoint, the farmer looks at soybeans as kind of the primary crop, and barley, as your example is, plays a very important role in the rotation. But the farmer is always sensitive that they want the barley harvest to be early enough so they can get it off the field so they can actually plant their primary crop of soybeans. So that's a very unique thing, I would say, to Argentina. I thought I would mention you talked about Necochea and Bahia Blanca. So for anyone, if you look at a map and you see Buenos Aires province, this is that wonderful spot in the southern part of Buenos Aires province, which is probably one of the best barley growing regions, not just in South America, but I would say in the world. That part of that Buenos Aires province is very good. Barley is very natural in that region, so you see it. A very good view with the farmers. And lastly, this premium, I talk about it all the time when I do my market updates and so on. The the problem is if you tell a farmer that malting barley is higher quality and therefore worth more, but market conditions move where the premium that you pay farmers for malting barley becomes very narrow, it's a very poor message to send to the farmers, because it's saying, yes, we want you to do all this work and we want you to create the quality for us and so on, but we're not willing to pay you much for it. That's like any business. You could see where farmers would start to wonder whether they should think of maybe just growing feed barley and push yield or whatever the case. So that's not an Argentine problem necessarily. That's a global problem,
yeah.
but it does hit Argentina. So I guess that's part of the backdrop to where the market is. You said you had a good crop, so you feel pretty good about crop 25. So any brewers in South America or any brewers around the world that would look for quality malting barley, they don't need to worry about it. They could talk to people like ALEA, and there's lots of quality malting barley around. Demand is still a struggle. So I think the supply situation looks pretty good. I would like to maybe turn a little bit to maybe over to you, Eugenia. One of the things that a lot of people are focused on is sustainable barley, and that would also tie in to regenerative agricultural practices and so on. Maybe you could tell a little bit about the work ALEA is doing to advance that. You've done a lot in the last 5 years plus, and you're going to do more, of course. But I guess maybe give us a summary of that journey on sustainable malting barley.
Yes, of course. But Brent, just before, let me add just one comment related to your last resume, let's say, of the situation. Let us add that farmer selling is more than 85% of this very good crop. So there's barley available, but just 15%. And in
Yep.
terms of quality, perhaps we didn't mention it, but we suffer from some quality issues, especially talking about malting barley due to a low death weight, and also we have problems with protein.
Yes.
So if I would be a multi-house, I will be perhaps asking or trying to find some quality in terms of malting barley. It's not going to be a very easy play, let's say, to the second part of the year. This is just my opinion. I don't
Yeah,
know,
well,
Emma, if you want to add something.
That's a good.
No, completely agree. Thanks, for
Okay.
that.
It's a good point, and maybe that's building it. There still is some of the crop to sell. I think what we're kind of touching upon is that unfortunate outcome where some reasonably good quality barley will end up in a feed vessel going to Saudi Arabia, for example, and
Indeed.
that's so there's a bit of a time element to it. Eventually, at some point, farmers may not wait any longer to see if there's a market for malting barley, even with some of those little quality things to manage through. So yeah, it's a very very sensitive topic, and there is a time window that needs to be considered. But 100% agree.
Yes.
But then on sustainable barley, let's talk about that, 'cause
Yes,
it's
of
very
course. Well,
topical.
actually, we are very proud of this program. Actually, we started in 2020 in ALEA. At that time, our engine, let's say, or the company that pushed us at the very beginning was Heineken. And actually, we are working in the same line, let's say, or in the same path. But at that time, we certified 5,500 hectares of barley It was our just the beginning. We certify our own barley production because we are farmers, a kind of farmers also, plus 5 farmers more. At that time, it was the very beginning. Of course, it was very hard to combine farmers to be part because, well, on 2020, the situation was different. If we compare with today, where it's clear, well, okay, you need to go in this path of sustainable certification. Then, we are certified by Site Platform. I didn't mention the organization. On 2023, we performed our first recertification, and at that time we broadened our program by the triple. So we reached 55,000 hectares in total, of which, due to rotation, around 15,000 hectares are from Barley. I think that our receipt, if you ask for them, is okay, just to work side by side with the farmers. We are not just asking farmers, well, okay, you need to complete this form. I need the answers in the next week. No, actually, we are working in the recertification because we need to do that this year during 2026. And if you look at my agenda, my schedule is full of farm visits because we need to go, we need to talk with them, we need to explain why this is important. And actually, well, our goal, and we are sure that we are going to achieve it, is to triple one more time the hectares. So going from 55,000 hectares to 150,000 hectares. So, well, this is going to give us the possibility to export per year around 118,000 tons of sustainable barley. And as I mentioned, we are very proud of this program. It's from us, this is the path that we need to walk, let's say, to the future. There's not just marketing. We are very committed with it. And let me add, we know that Site Platform is the basis, but the next step is carbon footprint measurement. That's why we are already working with this.
Yeah, that's a great story, and tripling it and then tripling it again requires a lot of focus and a lot of time and resource. And I think when I look from my perspective, it's very clear that that's a very strategic thing for ALEA. You've actually spent time and effort on it, and you continue to do it because you see the importance and you see where customers like the ones you mentioned have interest in it. I guess one question is, and we talked about if you took the premium discussion we just had a couple minutes ago and put that on the sustainability piece, I guess I would be concerned that how do you keep the farmer interested when we've got this premium thing, or is it something you're concerned about, or do you think that because of the work you're putting into it, you can keep the momentum going and keep the next tripling of that, despite some of those challenges that we have with at the current time with low premium? Are you worried about that, or do you still feel confident?
No, yes, of course, it's a big deal. You know, at the very beginning, I mean, during the first certification, we paid $3 per ton. Then during the second one, I mean, from 2023 until this year, we paid $5 per ton. And for this next certification, we're going to pay the same. It's a big deal. I remember to be in the RMI Congress discussing this. Well, okay, who is going to pay this premium? From our perspective, we need to pay this because, well, we have been discussing this many, many times. In Argentina, the situation, okay, we are stabilizing macroeconomics, we have a better shape, let's say, in this field, but okay, we need to give some incentive to the farmers. We have different positions. We have farmers that say, well, okay, I'm going to do that because this is my future, this is my land, this is my family that is living in this farm, and I want to do it. But on the other hand, we have some farmers that say, well, okay, I'm full of things to do. I need to deal with dollar rate, with export taxes, with the government. So, okay, give me some other motivation, let's say, to be part. That's why we are paying this. And also, we are from my point of view, we are investing. There's not a waste. We're investing time, investing in the certification, investing in the premium, of course.
No, it's all important. Well, I can assure you we will talk about it again in the RMI conference in Lisbon because you know that very well. I think it's very important from an industry perspective. We need to be thinking about this. The farmer is super, super important in this whole value chain, and you have to think. I always, and you hear it from me all the time, I always put myself in the boots of a farmer and think about decisions they can make, and they can grow other crops and they can do other things. So we shouldn't take that for granted that they don't have to grow barley or even specifically malting barley. So we have lots to talk about again in Lisbon. That's for sure. And there's no easy answers to it, but I think examples like you're giving certainly help us. So I guess I'm looking forward to catching up with you in Lisbon. We're going to have a little get together for our early arrivals. So we look forward to that. To finish off. The podcast is called The Perfect Pint. So then I'd like to ask each of you if you thought about the time or place or the people you're with or the style of beer, what would a perfect pint of beer look like from your perspective sitting in Argentina? So maybe ladies first, Eugenia, maybe what would a perfect pint of beer look like from Bahia Blanca?
Oh, what a question. It's hard in my case because I don't drink alcohol. So, so I'm in a bad situation, to answer this. But let me say that
You have
I think that
non-alcohol options?
no,
Non-alcohol,
yes,
yeah.
of course. Actually, I think we are going to be the new trend, in the next years. But I think the best thing is to share it with friends, with people. So that's the better. Yes, of course.
Yeah. The people you're with. Yep.
Yes.
A non-alcohol beer still contains malt, which needs barley. So I agree, and it is becoming mainstream, and we talk about that a lot. So I think you're touching on something there that's very important. Emmanuel, what's
Yeah.
when you're on the holiday beach? Is there
I do drink alcohol, and I really love beer. So I'm an ABA lover. I really like ABAs, and since we have the best beach in the country here in Necochea, I really enjoy when we have some beers, looking at the sunset in the beach with my friends. Yeah, that would be perfect.
Yep,
It's
sounds really good. So, well, thanks for that. We will see you in Lisbon in not so much time. We will find a non-alcohol malt-containing beer for Eugenia. I'm sure they have IPAs.
yes.
We will search that out. So, thanks again for sharing some of the story with ALEA and giving us another view from Argentina. Much appreciated, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Brent. Yeah, looking forward to see you and the rest of the colleagues in Lisbon. It's gonna be great.
Thank you, Brent. See you this morning.
Ciao.
Bye bye. Ciao.
What was your aha moment in that?
Yeah, well, when we recorded, I've learned a lot in many past years around Argentina. I always joke with people like the ALEA team that I learned something on every conversation. Think of the economic transformation that they're
Yeah.
going through, and there's some tough times that they've had economically, and they're still, advancing things. So to think of them, they tripled their program, now they're going to triple it again. That's amazing when you think of some of the headwinds that we always use that term that they face. So
Chat next week and for another episode of Pursuing the Perfect Pint. Cheers.